Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna cover most important JavaScript interview questions. So let's start. Okay, the first question which is mostly asked is what's the difference between let, const, and var. So we in JavaScript there are three types we can declare variables. One is let, one is const, and one is var. Var is not used nowadays, but it is one older way of declaring variables. Let and const are the modern way of declaring the variables. So what is the difference between let, const, and var? So let, if you declare any variable with let, it gives you option to update the value later. Let x can be updated to 6. This is valid. You can change the value of x. But const on the other hand, if you give some value to const, you cannot update it. If you try to update it, it will throw an error. So const means constant. So the value will be the same. Value can't be changed. Whereas the case of var, var can be updated and can be reinitialized as well, which is perfectly valid. So now if I run this program, there will be an error saying that I'm trying to update the constant. But if I remove this one and if I run this program, okay, I'm not printing anything. If I run this program, look at this. See, the x value will became 6 after the updation, y value is 7, it's constant, and a value is 10, which has taken the latest value. So with var na, we can redeclare, like we can reinitial declare var a equal to entirely, we can redeclare. That is possible. With let na, we can only update the value from x equal to 4 to x equal to 7. With constant, we can't even do that. It should be initialized at the time of declaration itself. So yeah, and var is global scope, let and const are block scope. So this is the one difference between this let, constant, and var. And the second question that mostly asked is what's the difference between double equal to and triple equal to? Okay, so double equal to and triple equal to two different types of comparing. Let's say we have a const x equal to 5 and const y equal to 5. So one is a string 5 and another one is a number 5. Now if I do console.log of x double equal to y and console.log of x triple equal to y, you'll get first one is true and the second one is false. So in this case, what will happen is that when you use double equal to, the type will be ignored. So 5 and 5 will be converted to the same type and they will be compared. Whereas in the second step now, the types are not changed as they are compared. So in the first case now, what will happen? Both the things are converted into one type and they will be compared, so the type will be ignored, so 5 will be compared to 5, so that gives us true. In the second case now, the types are not changed but they will be compared using 5 equal to string 5 and which is not equal to, so that's where we get false. So in the first thing we are ignoring the type, in the second thing we are not ignoring the type. So that is the main difference between these two, ignoring the type and keeping the type. My suggestion is that always use triple equal to, never use double equal to. You should always compare with the type. That is the most important thing. But unless if you have a specific use case that you need to do it, then only use equal to, or else always use triple equal to. Okay. So this is one more important question that we cover. Okay, let's talk about arrays. Arrays are a key backbone in JavaScript. Okay, you can declare a array in JavaScript using this syntax. This is array, and now I'll tell you one thing straight away. So you can do this. This is absolutely fine. A dot push equal to 6. Console dot log what arrays a. Now you may think I have updated the value of const, and I previously told that const value should not be updated. So how is this legal? So technically I'm not changing the reference of this array. I'm just adding one more element to it. So in the case of arrays, what will happen? Adding values or subtracting values or modification of the values are allowed, but completely changing the entire assignment of array is not allowed. Like if I do something like this, if I completely try to swap the array with something else, then it will be an error. But if I update the values now, that is fine. So that is one thing to keep in mind. Okay, fine. So in arrays now, we have a couple of important methods to cover. One is for each. Let's start with for each. For each is a iteration for iterating over the array elements. If you want to iterate one by one, you can use for each. Let's say let's iterate to all of them. So what for each is going to do is that it's going to go to the array, it's going to take one element by one, and it's going to perform some operation. Here we told it to do a console.log, so it's going to do console.log for 1, then it will go near 2, it will do a console.log for 2, then it will go to number 3, then it will go number 4, then 5, then finally that will be printed out the screen. So this is how for each works. But it will do a iteration of one by one on the array. There's one more method which is similar to for each, which is known as map. But the only difference between map and for each is that map returns an array after performing the operation, whereas for each doesn't do that. Let's say if I do item and item into 2, if I do mapper, see what did it do? It multiplied the number with 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So that's the way it is. So map function also iterates the array one by one, but after that it will return a new array. So what happened in this case? It went to 1 and we asked it to do 1 into 2. So it's done 2. Then in the case of 2, 2 into 2, 4. In the case of 3, 3 into 2, 6. 4 into 2, 8. 5 into 2, 10. So finally it returned the entire array to this mapper thing, and we are able to console this log this mapper. Okay, this is for each and map. There are a couple of other methods as well. One is find. Final. Hmm. So the syntax is similar to both for each and for map. There will be an arrow function. Inside the arrow function, you have to write the condition for which you need to find. So if you find an element, that element will be returned. If you don't find any element, will be returned undefined. So we found the element, so that has been returned. So what is the syntax? The syntax is similar. If you want to find an element in the array, you can use find method basically. It will iterate over the array and it will check if the element is present in the array. It will go one by one and it will compare the values. Okay, 1 equal to 2, no. 2 equal to 2, yes, okay, return this value. Otherwise it will return undefined. So that's how it works. It iterates to the array, tries to find one element by another element and returns that element. There's one more method actually, which is known as find index. Instead of returning the element, this returns index. So this also does the same thing. It iterates to the array, compares the value one by one, and instead of returning the value, it will return the index. So if you talk about indexes of these values now, it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because it's in array start with 0. So the index of this 2 is 1, that's the one which has been returned. So find index will return the index of the value and find will return the element itself. So this is one key difference that you need to understand. There's one more method known as filter. If you want to filter out all the positive, not the positive values, all the even numbers of this, then you can do that. So the syntax is again similar. You need to write an arrow function, and inside the arrow function we can do item dot percentage 2 equal to 0. Filter also returns us an array of the result array. So if I do this 2, 4, 6, so 2, 4 and 6 are the even elements in my array, so that has been returned. So what it does, it will iterate through the array one by one and will perform this operation. 1 percentage 2 is equal to 0 or not. It will check 1 percentage 2 equal to 0. Okay, it is not equal to 0, then ignore it. Then 2 percentage 2, is it equal to 0? Okay, then add this element into the array. Then 3 percentage 2 equal to 0. Okay, is it not equal to 0? Then ignore this value. Then 4 percentage 2. So like that it will check for all the elements, and whatever the elements it will compare. Now here it should be 1. Here also it should be 1. So for all the elements where it is getting 0 now, it's going to take those elements and it's going to put into a separate array and it's going to return that array. So this is how filter method works. One of the useful methods. Generally we will be using to filter out some elements in the array. And there's one more element, one more method known as reduce, which is we are going to talk about. So reduce is generally used when you want to reduce your array into a single value. Maybe if you want to find the sum of these elements, or maybe if you want to find the multiplication of these elements, or then you will be using reduce. So reduce what will take? It will take the entire array as an input and it will convert it into a single value. It will throw that a value. Okay, so let's say const reduce. Okay, the syntax is similar. We need to take the arrow function. inside the arrow function, there's one new thing here. There's something called as accumulator, which I'm going to talk about. Accumulator plus item, and we need to specify the initial value for the accumulator. So if I do console.log read, it should be 15, I believe. It is 21. Okay, we have 6 as well. It's 21. So what is doing? We are telling it to reduce into a single sum. We are finding the sum of the elements. We are telling it to reduce into a single value, and how it's happening. So this is accumulator is the initial value. So accumulator. Let's break it down. I'll break it down. So understand this as something like this. Sorry, a dot length. So this is what's going to happen. Now accumulator is something that we define earlier. Let x equal to 0 or let y equal 0. Accumulator is something that the initial value. Then what are we doing? X plus array a of 5. So this is what is going to happen. So we are telling it to count each value with the array element. So first what will happen? First one will be coming. 1 will be added to 0, which will be 1 plus 0. Then 2 will be coming. Then 2 will be added to 1, which will become 3. Then 3 will come. Then 3 will be added to the 3, it will become 6. Then 4 will come. 4 will be added to the 6 value, it will become 10. Then 10 will be added to 5, 15. Then 6 will be added to 15, 21. So finally we are reduced it to a single value. This is known as reduce method. Okay. Moving ahead, we will cover functional programming in JavaScript. So there are three main, let's write the topic name. Functional programming is functional programming in JavaScript. Okay, fine. There are three main ways to define a functions in JavaScript. We have been doing for a lot of time. We are actually defining the arrow functions for all the arrow methods. So sorry, array methods. So arrow function is something like this. The syntax is similar. You have to define a const or a let. You can use anything. You can define the name of the function and then arrow function. This is called as arrow function. The braces and its arrow symbol, which is signifies it as an arrow function. And inside that you can perform any operation that you want. So for now, let's print a message saying I am a arrow function. I'm an arrow function. Yeah, this is one type of function, and there's another type of thing known as function expressions. So it's similar to what arrow expressions, but instead of using this symbol, we'll be using function and we'll be removing that symbol. So this is known as function expressions. I am a function expression. Okay, and next we'll be doing for not a const. We'll be declaring function declaration. This is a regular way of defining the functions. Both of them are same. So let's change the name. Array3. I'm a function declaration. Okay, we have created three different types of functions and we are going to print them. See, so arrow function syntax is something like this, where will you get a const, then followed by function name, then followed by this opening curly brace and closing curly brace, then followed by this arrow symbol. And then inside that we can write whatever we want. So I'm writing console.log and braces. This is arrow function. And now function expressions is similar to arrow function. You can have if a const or else const or let whatever you want, a function name, and then you need to type instead of directly returning arrow open and close brackets, you need to mention function and open and close brackets. So this is called as function expression. And finally last one is the function declaration, which is a normal function of writing functions in Java or anything like that. You might have been aware of these functions. So this is three types of writing functions in JavaScript. Okay. Okay, then let's move ahead to another topic. Set timeout. Another important topic in JavaScript that's commonly asked. Set timeout. Okay, we got the syntax, but let's say you want to delay your execution of your program for a certain time. Let's say you want to hold your program execution for 10 seconds, then you can do it using set timeout. So what does set timeout do now? Set timeout syntax is similar to what we are doing till now. There will be an arrow function, and inside the arrow function you can add some delay. So let's say console.log, I want to delay it for a second. Now if I run this program now, after 1 second I'll see a hello message. So set timeout is basically used when you want to delay your program for certain time. Delay your program. So let's say if you want to delay a function, maybe you're making an API call and it's taking some time and you want to hold it off for some operation. So then you can use something like set timeout. Set timeout will hold the operation till a certain time. So let's say you're performing some huge mathematical computations, maybe a plus b or something, not a plus b, some mathematical computations, and you want to hold off the computation till the time of API is finished. Then you can put that API time here. After that, you can perform this operation. So set timeout is basically used when you want to delay your program for certain time, and this is the time that will be hold off. So one thing to note here is that this is not the exact amount of time that will be holding off. So let's say if I mention for 1 second, it is not exactly true that this function will be executed only after 1 second. This is the minimum amount of time. Let's say if you put here 100 seconds, 100 milliseconds, these are in milliseconds. This is not okay. A plus b. Let's go back. Uh, hmm. Now it is not exactly sure that this program will run after 100 milliseconds. This program can run and will run a minimum time of 100 seconds after 100 milliseconds, not an exact time. This is a minimum amount of time. This is a minimum amount of delay, not the exact amount of delay. Let's say if our call stack is full and if there are multiple programs to be executed, then this will be waiting till all of those completed, and then only this will be picked up, and then only this will be executed. First our this delay time should be completed, then our call stack should be empty, then our event loop should become free, then only it will be executed. So it's not like a direct concept of minimum 100 milliseconds, then it will be executed, not something like that. So this is again depends upon the call stack and event loops and all. We'll talk about those in the next video. Okay, so there are three different types of scope. One is function scope, and the second one is global scope, the third one is a block level scope. So what do you mean by scope? Scope means that the level of access you have on the variables. Let's say you're creating a function something like this. Let a equal to 5. Then see, now I can do this. This is perfectly valid because a is part of my scope. So, but I cannot do something like this. Let's say let b equal to 5. But this is not valid. See, okay, we need to hide this one. Constant, what is the error? Unexpected identifier. Okay, can't. It's const. Hello all. So this is not acceptable thing actually. So the acceptable thing is that A is console logging A is fine because that is part of the scope, but B is not fine. So what do you mean by scope? So from this bracket to this bracket, what is present? That is called a scope. So if you're considering this function, this function, this is the scope of this function, and this is the scope of this function, and the entire thing is considered as a global scope. So there are three types of scope. One is block scope, between a block, something like this. This is known as block scope. So in block scope now, all the values will be accessible within the block itself. Nothing can be outside the block. Let's say if I try to print a plus b here, it will be an error because these are not accessible outside the block. This can be accessible only within the block. And the next type of is the function scope that we already declared here. the values which are present within the function, they can be used within the function itself. They cannot be used outside the function. If I remove this thing and if I try to run a plus b now, then also I'll get an error because this is not part of this function. So this is not part of this function. So this is known as functional scope. And there's one more thing called as global scope. In global scope, the rest everything is known as global scope. Let a equal to 5. Everything is known as global scope. If I make something here, this is known as global scope, and everything can be accessed from which is in global scope. If, functions can access, blocks can access, everything under it can be accessible. Okay. Now, one more important topic that we need to cover is closures. Most important topic. Most of the interviews they will ask this question, multiple questions about closures, and there will be multiple follow-up questions on closures as well. So this is an important topic. Follow-up. Okay. The technical definition of closure is something like that: a function bundled together. A function bundled together with lexical environment is known as closure. But yeah, we don't go into this theoretical details. We'll go into knowledgeful details. Let's say, let's go through more of a programmatical details. Let's say there's a function. Okay. Now we have covered scope, so we know what are scopes. Basically, what is the scope of anything? Let's say const a equal to 5. Equal to 10. Take this value as a parameter instead of here. Okay. So now what just happened? What is closures? So basically we create an outer function, and inside the outer function there is an inner function. The inner function is doing console log of a plus b, and we are returning that inner function. Okay. So let's understand the call stack and execution context for this window. Okay. So first we have defined this function. So outer now has access to a equal to 5 and b value which will be present from inner, which is a parameter that will be passed to inner, and we can access from here. Okay. Good. Now everything is good. Now everything is working fine. Now we created val and we called outer 5. Okay. This is not required actually here. Yeah. So now we executed this program. So now what will be the execution order? This will come here. Const a will be 5, and it will check the inner function and will return this inner function, and this outer function will be removed from the call stack. So we don't have anything related to outer function. If we remove the outer function, all the values that are present in the outer function should also be gone. If the values of the outer function are gone, then how can we access a plus b? A should be gone from the context. Then a should be undefined. Then we should get an error, right? Because the function related to outer is gone. If the outer is gone, then all the variables are also related to it will be gone. So then this should be an error, but it's not throwing an error. Instead, it's giving a proper valid answer. So this is the magic of closures. What does closures will do, you know? So closures will basically look at the what are the variables that are required by it, and it will keep a track of it. So the inner function knows that it needs to know the value of a. Even though the a value is gone, even the outer function execution is done, it will keep a track of the a value so that it is required in the future. So this is what closure is basically. A function will keep track of all of its variables that are needed, all the values that are declared in the upper functions. So this is known as closures. Okay. Yeah, closure is one important topic. uh, okay. We can go for another topic. I think for this we need to go to, I'll go into my Visual Studio Code. Okay. So one more important topic is that asynchronous JavaScript, which is basically promises and async await. Let's cover both of them. Let's actually create a new file, prom.tsx. I'm gonna create a arrow function for now. Okay. Now, what is asynchronous JavaScript? Asynchronous JavaScript is something that in synchronous manner everything will be executed line by line. Let's say this and b plus c is equal to 10, and so there are multiple operations that are being performed. So one after the, so let's get to some real world examples. Let's say you opened a website. Let's open some website, and you enter some URL, and you have been redirected to their website, something like this. You have been redirected here and you came to this website. Now the thing is that we don't know that till the moment this API call is finished, we don't know that we're going to get an API success response or failure response. So promise is something that is not confirmed yet, that can be completed in the future step, that can be either completed as a successful thing or completed as a failure thing. So promises are something which are not current at this moment, but that will be completed in the future moment, but they can complete or they cannot complete. This is the process of promises. There are fulfilled state or rejected state. If fulfilled state, then we're going to get the API response, then we're going to get the website, or else we're going to get an error page, something like that. So that is promises. If you want to learn more about promises, let's do a dry run of it. Let's see. This is a free API resource that you can use for fetching the API values. Let's call the fetch value. Okay. Dot then we are getting the response.json, and dot then if there are any errors, console.log the errors. Okay. If I call this, uh, okay, there's nothing to be written actually here from here. Let's return something for now, and let's bring up the server. Okay, server is up. Server isn't up. Server is up now. So if you open the console now, we got all the response values. So what just happened? We call this API, and that actually returned it. So we call this API, and we told after successful finishing of that API, then just do a rest.json, which will extract the JSON, and then console.log. So we are console.log. If it is successful, then this will be executed. If it fails now, then there will be an error and catch will be executed. So this is how, so we promises are something which we don't know. We are making an API call to this one, and we are assuming that this call will be completed, and if it completes now, provide us the data. If this call doesn't complete, or if this operation fails now, then give me the error log. So this is the what we are planning here. So we are expecting something to be completed either, or something to be not completed. So this is what promises generally are. So something that this is an asynchronous behavior. So these when you encounter a promise now, promises execution will not be done in a similar synchronous way. Like it won't be executed in line by line order like all the times we see in JavaScript programming synchronous way. These are these are actually being executed by browser itself. Browser sees this one, okay, this takes it to a separate call log and separately performs these operations.